Okay, hello everyone. I'm Jenny. Hope everyone know me already. Okay, today I'm gonna talk about find what's affected by the code change. This is started by this kind of conversation happening again and again, and makes me feel very tedious and time wasting. Have you ever met that before? No, really serious? Okay, fine. Mm, as a developer, I feel I must find something that out there can fix my problem, right? So I search around, that I find is probably just Babel and some Webpack plugins or whatever, but no one can actually directly solve my problem. So I say, okay, fine, let's make one, right? We are developers. Okay, so this is the idea. Actually, it's the very first part of the idea. So in this part, I have three steps, mainly three steps. First step is to solve a file. I want to get the import, export, and the relationship in that file. And then next step is I solve more files, combine the informations, and maybe reorganize them and to get what I want. And third step is integrate with Git, because Git is actually related to the changes. So you can get more information from Git actually. And so let's start with the first step. So imagine that I have this simple file called file B. I only have 3 lines, very simple. Import and declare the function, and then export the default. All right. Then I want to get such kind of information on the right side. So I want to get the import, export, and the relationships between all those functions, variables, whatever. So how do I get it? I can get it from the AST. Let's open the AST Explorer. Yeah, so here I want to thank to Nihao Master, because he is the one who made this awesome tool. Okay, so you can see in the left side I got my 3 lines of code, and the right side got the AST passed by Babel. Okay, so you can see in the file there's a program, and then there's a body, and inside the body actually got 3 objects, and these 3 objects is referring to the 3 lines of code. And finding the import and the export can be very straightforward. So you can see this import declaration. You can just look through the properties and find I'm importing the A here inside the import specifier, and then I can find my file source is the file A inside this source value. Alright, so same applies to the export. So it's very straightforward, right? Oops. But how about relationships? Relationships, well, can be a little bit more complex. So here I get some help from this Babel Traverse package, which is actually traverse the AST tree by DFS, and it provides a lot of useful tools to help me do this. And I also before I doing this, I also need to find the right AST type to use. So in this process, I get some help from the mainly use the AST Explorer and the Babel types, which is a TypeScript. And to get relationships, I will need another example. So here you see I have a function, I have some variables, and inside functions I also export another functions, right? So imagine I'm using the Babel Traverse to traversing the code, and can simply think I traverse from top to down and left to right, all right? So when I traverse to the function, I find in my function scope, or in my file scope, sorry, in my file scope, I declare the arc, end, and func, alright? And then I found, because I'm entering a function, so I'm creating a new scope, which is the function scope. And here I declare an argument called arg. And when I go to the curly bracket here, actually I create a new scope, which is the block statement scope. And here I didn't declare anything yet. And when I go to the next line, I find I declared the local arg and use the arg I declared outside. Alright, then next line, I return a function, so I create a new scope, and in here I didn't declare anything. I just used the local arg and then outside. Okay, so before I leaving the function, I start to do some processing. So since I know what I declared and what I used, I can try to remove the declared stuff from my used. But just now I didn't declare anything in my return function, so I didn't know where this local arg and come from, so I leave it to the parent. So here I merge them to the parent use, and then I come to the curly bracket again. So I find I first exit the block statement, and here, so I find the local arg is actually declared inside. So I remove the local arg, and now I left the arg, and now I want to exit the function, and I find my arg is also declared in here, not the outside. So I remove the arg also. Then I come to the file scope, and I can tell that my function is actually depending on n, not depending on arg. Alright? So this is how I find the relationships. And you can see there was a very interesting question here, that in the function, right, I actually create two scopes, not one scope, because there's very interesting definition I find in the Babel types, that there's a scopable Babel type, and including the function and the block statement. But obviously you see the block statement and the function are in the different place. So if you traverse the tree and only think about the block statement as a scope, you will miss the argument. And same also applies to catch clause and the for loop. If you have the, for example, you let index or whatever to declare a new variable inside the for loop, it will also create a new scope. So this is step 1, done. So we come to the step 2. Step 2, we're gonna solve more files. But before that, I will say the information we get just now was not enough, because if you look closely, the relationship I get here is a direct relationship, which is my default is depending on B and my B is depending on A. But in human eye, we can easily tell that my default is depending on A, right? But the private B doesn't mean anything to the other files, only means something inside this file. So what I need to do first is to find out the relationship between default and A. So here the example is too simple. Actually, the relationships can be multiple to multiple, and sometimes even circleized, right? So the for you guys that have some CS background, that you might know this is actually graph. So to solve graph, simple. We just visit the graph nodes. Yeah. So by visiting this, we set the starting point and the end point, which can be either from import to export or export to import by your preference. Yeah. Then after we visit it, we can know that the default is depending on A. All right. So I'm not going to show code here. I believe everyone knows, but in the end, I may get such kind of information instead. So from my file B, I process the AST and get such kind of data, which I know that there is a file A out there. It exports A, and this A is affecting my file B's default. And also, there's also a file B and my file B has a default export, but what it affects, I have no idea. I have no idea now. Yeah, so now I know that my file B is affected by file A, right? No, it's not enough. So behind the file A, there may be a lot of files are actually affecting the file A. So I need to find all them out to tell that what are actually affecting file B. Yeah, so what you do is not that complicated, which is solving more files, like all the JS files under one repo, and then merge those data together, like we the object we had just now, and then you can tell the relationships. So here I find a very interesting problem, which is about the module resolve, and I'm not sure that whether everyone noticed this. The import from a certain module is actually the module can be anywhere. So what I mean is in node modules there is a default behavior that it can look up to the parent folders to look for the node modules. If it's there, it can be also solved. It doesn't have to be under your repo. And then is your packing tool like Webpack. It has resolve configurations, so you can configure your custom node module paths, and also you can also pretend a certain JS file to package. So this creates some problem for me because if my program doesn't know this information, it only exists in the Webpack, I cannot solve it. So that brings out this problem. So simple Webpack configuration, I can solve it. You can just give me the settings. But some mono repos, I find it's very hard to work with it. You know which repo I'm talking about, right? Okay, so I still haven't found the right way yet. Okay. Yeah. So this is the step 2. Yeah. Now it comes to step 3. Step 3 is very interesting. So comes to the step 3, when I work with Git, there's 2 main problems I need to solve. The first one is what are changed. I mean not the lines of code are changed. This can be told from the Git diff easily, right? But since I need the export declarations, I need to find out what variable, what class, or what function are changed from the diff. Yeah. So this is the first problem. And second problem is the context. So what I mean context is you see change means before and after. So if you do some refactor, the before and after can be very different file structure. So it will create some problems because your files might not exist there, and you try to read them or pass them, and you will get some trouble, right? So to solve the first problem, I get some help from this Git diff from 2 revisions. Like revision is like the git commit hash and some git expressions. So after you run this, you can get such kind of logs. Honestly, before this, I never read this very carefully. So it's very interesting. So you can get a lot of information here. So you can see every file change is started with the diff-git, and every code block change. Inside the file, there may be several code block change, and every code block is starting with some line number symbol. So you might notice this line doesn't mean meaningful actually, but sometimes before this line, there may be some kind of this information. So it tells you the operations that you are deleting the file or creating a new file or renaming the file. That matters to us because the files might only exist in certain contexts. Yeah. And next is the before and the after path. So the minus minus means before and plus means after. But the interesting fact here is if you create a new file, right, both of them will exist. And delete also, only renaming you will see the difference. And next one is the line number. So you can see we also have minus and the plus means before and after. So the first number 27 and 32 actually means the line number of the code right behind it, which is the export default whatever. It's not the line that you changed, it's the line before it, after it, sorry. Then the second number 4 is means the how many lines of code appears in this block. Okay, so with this information I can calculate that I actually changed the line 31 in the before context and the line 37 in the after context. Okay, then how am I gonna use that? Luckily I got the line number start and end information from the AST. So with comparing the AST information, I can find out which function or which variable I'm changing. Yeah, so now I solved the first problem. Now we come to the second problem, context. So there is an interesting finding. I made some troubles when I tried to integrate with Git, which is I find the package resolve is actually really finding whether the file exists in your file system, I mean your current file system. So if you are trying to solve some Git commit that doesn't check out in your file system, so it cannot solve. So I have to change this behavior by doing this way, which is getting all the tracked file list and then finding out whether this path exists in this list. So to find out the tracked files, I use this command. So you can list out all the tracked files. And then interesting part is you can also find the certain revisions file content, the full content by this command. So you don't really have to check out the commit and then do the processing. Okay, so now we finish. We can just use whatever we produce in the step 2 and then finding out what my git change affects. That's all. Okay, this is my GitHub repo. So before we end, any questions? No. Mm-hmm.
Any questions from the room?
So in the end, did you manage to integrate with that repo?
I tried.
Can you
And
repeat the question first?
okay.
Because people from live streaming cannot hear. So the question
okay.
is.
So the question just now Kenrick asked is, did you in the end resolve that monorepo problem? Well, the answer is no, not yet, because I find it's too hard because the Webpack configuration can be anywhere. And you know what's the best? When I try to resolve that monorepo, I find a bug for Kenrick.
We have one question from live stream.
Mm-hmm.
Can demo the package?
Oh yeah. Okay, it's here. What do you want to see?
I think Luis is asking demo of a package.
Well, I don't have the actual demo, but I have the test result. So here is the final part, the git change test result. So if you do it right way, you can get such kind of information. Yeah, which is the the export that I'm affecting by the git change. So I'm running this code. Oh wait, not this one. Yeah, so I'm just providing the git hash and certain configurations, and then I get the changes from the hash, and then calculate out what are the files and the exports are affected in this way.
I think we have Tian asking, can you help to find bug for user?
Maybe. Not yet. I can find some code bugs, like the bug I assigned to Kerry.
Nice. Any other questions? Okay, I have one. Do you have any next step?
Yes. So next step is very different. So I'm thinking about having a database for the test cases. Yeah, for the test cases. So then we can like combine this code change to what regression test we gonna do for QA tester on the probably can for us to refer. Yeah.
Do you have a choice for database yet?
Not yet. Maybe MongoDB or MySQL.
Sorry, can I clarify the limitations now are packages that are not in our in that mono repo, and if the code is refactored as well. So for these two cases, we cannot trace it.
Oh, I can trace it.
Oh,
Mm.
so okay.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the points for which cases you cannot trace?
Because the package might not be in the right place, so I cannot find the right place to solve the file. Yeah, it's for example, if you pretend certain file like the fetch YouTube to be a module, if I cannot find it, I cannot trace to this file is affected. Right.
So you cannot trace it in a sense like you cannot trace it on Git, or you cannot trace it
On the file system, because I don't know where is the file. Yeah. So you have to tell me what's your setting, like which file you are pretending to be a package, and if you have a customized module path, you have to tell me, so I can better solve the files. Yeah. Any more questions?
So am I understanding correctly that the complexity of the whole search is with respect to the total changes as well as the
Files.
file dependency?
The file base.
What's the worst case scenario?
Worst case, I think is a large code base.
No, analog changes.
Yes. Changes, yeah.
How long does it take to run one round of running?
Mm.
search?
For my current GitLab, sorry, the AST lab repo is very fast, but for that mono repo, it can take for 3 to 5 minutes to finish to get a result. Yeah.
So how do you handle circular dependency?
So the first thing is what I actually tried several approach. So my first approach is trying to solve the dependencies right away, which causes need to face that circular problem. Then next approach, I find a better way is to solve the file information first. And if you have dependencies, whatever, you leave some certain symbols, and then once you get the whole map right, then you solve. Then you know, because you already know it's circular, then you can prevent it. So I use something I think is related to graph algorithm. Yeah. So it's called what? Descartes? I don't know how to call that name.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, so the basic thinking is once you visit a node, there is certain dependencies, right? And you put these dependencies into the queue, and in this queue, I do another approach is to remove the duplicate part. So I will avoid to visit the duplicate nodes here. I will only append the new nodes in behind, and then my loop will continue process the next nodes until there's no more nodes to find anymore. Okay.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Yes.
How much algorithms do you look into when you're doing this project?
I'm not sure, but I feel what I'm using is quite basic ones. Yeah, just like graph visiting or tree visiting stuff. Yeah.
Okay, if there's no more questions,
Then we stop here.
yeah, then we stop here.
Okay, thank you guys.